this Copper Belt province brings to you The Lens, a program designed to bring insightful information on economics, mining, education, health, tourism, agriculture, environmental issues, sports, entertainment, current affairs, and many issues affecting the well-being of society. Well, viewers, welcome to The Lens, a program coming to you from the Copper Belt Provincial Studio, and I am your host, Tovini Ngombe. On today's program, we shall be discussing Zambia's economic outlook. And to discuss this matter, on my panel, I have Mr. Joseph Mleya, who is a lecturer for business studies from the National Institute of Public Administration, NIPA, right here in Ndola. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
And also, I have Mr. Chimba, who is also a lecturer under the business studies at the National Institute of Public Administration, NIPA, right here in Ndola as well on the Copper Belt. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Toby.
Yeah, to look at the Zambia's economic outlook, I will look at what other sectors or other people are viewing the country's economic outlook. As of June 2024, the African Development Bank had forecast that the country's gross domestic product will grow by 4.2% this year, and this is supported by the ongoing recovery in the mining and manufacturing sector, coupled with the higher global copper prices, increased market confidence owing to fiscal consolidation measures put in by the New Dawn government. And also, the real GDP per capita is expected to see a modest growth, rising from 1.2% in 2023 to 1.4% in 2024 this year. And also, the average inflation rate in Zambia has been forecast to continuously decrease between 2024 and 2029 by 4.4%, and the inflation rate is estimated to amount to 7% when we reach 2029. These are the forecast indicators. However, potential risks to this outlook or to this economic outlook includes the high prices of fuel on the international market, the electricity tariffs, the fluctuation in the prices of fertilizer at the global market, and also the fiscal deficit is projected to remain high at 8.1% of GDP in 2023 and 7.3% in 2024, driven by increased social spending. And also challenges include the recurring drought, which affected the country, and also the fluctuations of the copper prices on the international market, and the effects of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine on the fertilizer and fuel prices. And this information was updated on 12th June 2024. Also, the downside also risks to the growth outlook include the continuation of the drought, which I also alluded to, and the slippages in reforms, programs, execution, and the inflationary impacts. However, government is expected to continue tightening monetary policy to curb inflation, maintaining a flexible exchange rate to reduce volatility, and shoring up foreign reserves through higher export earnings. The addition of locally mined gold bullion to foreign reserves, so that at least some of the mined local gold can be kept as reserves. and the promotion of stable foreign investment flows. These are the projections, sir, concerning the Zambia's economic outlook. Maybe to begin with, I'll start with Mr. Muleya. How do you look at this economic projection for this year?
Okay, first of all, I'll start by focusing on where we have come from.
Yes, sir.
Basically, when you look at the key macroeconomic indicators, they were underperforming. Starting from the inflation rate, you come to the real GDP growth rate, and also you come to the exchange rate and the BOP position. So there was the underperformance in the previous years. So going forward, we've seen a lot of activity, improvements in certain key macroeconomic indicators, such as the GDP, and also so promising is the inflation rate.
Okay. Yeah. How about Mr. Chimba? How do you look at the economic outlook of the country for this year?
Of course, there are negative and positive aspirations, but starting with the positive, we are expecting a boom in copper production, copper output at KCM, which is coming on stream. And KCM was projected to increase output from the current 40,000 tons per annum to 250,000 tons per annum. And that is a very high leap. Secondly, the other giant mine, Mopani, is also coming on stream via International Resource Holdings, which has 40% stake in the mine. It is also envisaged that it will boost copper production from about the average of 87,000 tons per annum to over 260 tons per annum. Now, you will appreciate that copper from now onwards will be on high demand, taking into account that electric vehicles are the in thing, the green economy, and also the fact that the construction industry in the booming Chinese economy is also going up. And the largest component of copper, rather, China uses copper in the construction industry for copper wires and other components. And at the moment, copper is fetching $8,640 per ton. And it's projected that between now and 2 years from now, it may even go to $10,000 per ton, 10,000 to 12,000 per ton. And that will give Zambia a headroom to improve the economy and to earn more revenue from foreign exchange. You may be aware that Zambia earns about 85% foreign earnings from copper exports. But with a boost, that will even go higher. Many people may say that mining is a wasting assets, but copper and cobalt will be on high demand because they are vital components in EV. Secondly, we expect reorganization in the agriculture sector. And what we expect, government has already pronounced that there will be crop diversification, and they will also encourage proper cooperatives, and not cooperatives of pretenders, but cooperatives consisting of real farmers, genuine farmers, who will be able to collaborate. And once they collaborate, they network, they will be provided with a market, and that will be very helpful. Agriculture is the highest employer, one. Then secondly, it feeds into the manufacturing industry. It provides raw materials, and it also guarantees food security. And therefore, with such an outlay, we expect that inflation will go down, then the GDP will go up.
Just on the positives again.
Yes.
So I was talking of the high appetite of the consumption of the copper by the manufacturing industries like China and other developed countries like USA. We have the Europeans. They are all craving for copper.
Yes,
are we seeing a positive outlook for this with what government has put in place for this year's economic outlook? Are we seeing any better future in that?
Exactly, because of the coming in of KCM has just been revamped, and also Mopani. So what we see is that there will be an increase in export earnings in terms of copper production. So that will increase on the country's GDP.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe we take you back, a step back, how the economy performed, especially in the previously, for the past 10 years, in the previous regime from 2011 up to 2021, and also how did the economy, how did we perform, or where did we go wrong, such that we found ourselves even defaulting on several debts that we incurred.
Okay. First of all, I'll give the indicators as they are. Starting from 2013, you realize that the real GDP growth rate was 5.1. 2014, it went to 4.7%. And this continued to reduce until 2022, where we recorded about 4.7 on average. Now, the other indicator is the inflation rate. So it was so high in 2013 to a tune of 7.0%. And then 2014, we saw the annual inflation rate of 7.8. Now this continued to increase up to 11.1% in 2022. Now, let's now focus on the balance of payments position, because this is also another key macroeconomic indicator. So, in 2013, we had 247.2 million United States dollars. And then this is compared with the most previous one, which is 158.7 million United States dollars of the BOP position. The exchange rate also had the following. We had 5.4, rather 5 kwacha 14 ngwe in 2013. This continued to reduce up to 16.9, or rather 16 kwacha 9 ngwe in 2022. Now, all these have resulted into the underperformance of the economy.
Okay.
Just in addition.
Yes, Mr. Chimba.
The other factor which contributed to underperforming is the debt accumulation. You remember in 2012 government, or rather Zambia borrowed 750, issued a euro bond to the tune of 750 million US dollars. 2014, they issued another euro bond at 1 billion US dollars. And thereafter, 2015, they also issued another at 1.2 US dollars. So the debt accumulation and the unplanned expenditure, the way it was, the way the money was utilized, the way the money was channeled in the economy was not well planned. And as a result, one, there was wastage. Then secondly, there was misapplication. Sorry, not stealing, but misapplication. And therefore, if you look fast forward, the government was unable to repay back, okay? Because there were no returns on the investment. Then secondly, there was low mining activities. At KCM, Vedanta Resources was flushed out in May 2019. Then in 2021, about April or so, Gleco International left Mopani and government took over. And there was a huge slump on both mining investments. And you can see the impact. You could have seen the impact then. Zambia is dependent mostly on mining. And there was a slump on two big investments. And hence, the economy receded significantly. Then we cannot ignore the external factors. And the fact that there was COVID-19, which broke out and there was disruption in the supply chain. Zambia was not spared, it was hit badly. Then the other aspect which led to a receding trend in the economy was the unpredictable and unstable fiscal and monetary policies, because there were multiple changes, especially in the mining sector, wherein government would change the mine tax regime so often. We witnessed a situation where every time there was a budget presentation, there was a new regime, tax regime in the mining. And that caused a lot of instability in the mining sector. And certain mining giants like First Quantum Minerals withheld investment. While Glencore International left, Vedanta was kicked out. So you can see all these negative aspersions that affected the country to the extent that the GDP dipped to negative 2.8% in about 2020 or 2019, thereabout.
Just to add
on that again, maybe if you can hold your thought.
Okay.
We expected the country borrowed a lot from the Eurobond, and that money we expected to be reinvested in the economy and the economic activities, but the opposite, we saw the economic coming down. You talked of the misapplication, but it was not, so we were not supposed to see an economic boom because that loan was gotten at very low interest and we expected to reap out of it. What really went wrong apart from what you have said?
Okay.
Mr. Muri again.
So maybe we can put it this way. Funds can be there, but it's the question of how do we implement the budgets that are put in place. So poor budget implementation and also monitoring also caused those problems that we saw around. Because if really the funds that we acquired, were put into good use, we would have seen our economy to another level than where we are today.
Yes.
Okay.
In addition,
yes,
when government issued those bonds, we expected that there would be a return on investment. But what happened was the money was intended for infrastructure development projects, right?
Which is a good economic indicator for development.
Correct. We've seen certain modern structures that came out from, but mind you, we have a number of, I think, over 112 districts in Zambia. There are a number of projects that have been left yawning. I'll give you an example. One of the major projects that was supposed to take root was the Matumbo Rundazi Chama Road. To date, that road is incomplete. The other road was the Isoka Muyombe Road, still incomplete. There was another project in Mpika to link Mpika, Nabwari, and Fuwe via Nabwari. That project was at a standstill. If you go into the new districts, if you do a survey, a simple survey in the new districts, infrastructure is at many of the projects, infrastructure is at foundational level, and some districts do not even have infrastructure. Now, what does that tell you? The money that came in was supposed to have been channeled in those projects to come up, to change the face of Zambia, to change the face of Zambia, and Zambia was going to have a return on such investment.
Yes, we saw, yes, especially on the newly created districts. Yes. Actually, they were supposed to build infrastructure, and most of those have stood and are still at development. And some people said, was it not because we went too much into trying to develop at a go, and in the long run we ran short of money? Was that could have affected the economy because everyone was rushing to buy materials in China? Could have that affected also the performance of the economy? And they depleted the currency that we have, the foreign reserves?
What actually happened was that many of these projects were procured at a very astronomical rate, okay? Meaning that the money which was available was unable to finance such projects. And there was also a time factor wherein a project which is supposed to take 2 years, okay, stretches to 7 years, and that accumulates interest. Now, in project planning and implementation, project management, There's one, time factor, okay? Budgeting, and you monitor to the extent that when you start a project of 2 years, it should be completed within 2 years, okay? Because there are certain factors that come in, the changing price changes, for instance. So, in short, project planning, management, implementation may have been very poor.
Yes, Mr.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah, what we saw was poor project planning and monitoring, as well as the implementation. You can start as many projects as you can, but if you have a very good project implementation strategy, you are going to achieve. But the problem is, you start this there, you start this that side, you start this the other side, but how best are you going to implement? You monitor and review. Where have we gone wrong? But very little was done. Projects were just left. We saw some contractors leaving the sites. They will just go there, camp there for a week, and then they go, and left scot-free. So if there's a good project implementation strategy, you would find that such kind of issues could not have risen from within the economy. So that is what has cost us.
Okay. When we look at again the Eurobond, it was supposed to improve the rail infrastructure, the rail line, the Tazala, which we have. It was meant to uplift it so that at least most of the copper which is moving through by road and destroying our roads would have been using the rail line, most of it. But now we didn't see much development there. Could that also contribute to the affecting of the economy performance?
Yes, in fact, for the rail infrastructure, the $750 million which was issued in 2012 was meant to, part of it was meant to revamp the entire network of Zambia'S from Livingstone to Chililabombwe. But what we see now is the very opposite. The infrastructure is still the way it was during the First Republic, Second Republic, and in fact, part of it was in that form in the colonial administration. So nothing has been done on that score.
Would have been like our colleagues, like the neighbors, Tanzania, they have improved theirs.
Yes.
Would have been actually maybe being at the equal footing with Tanzania, and also maybe even Ethiopia, who have even introduced the speed train, and even actually Kenya.
Yes.
What went wrong with us with that money which we had?
Implementation.
Okay. What should have been done better with it?
What should have been done is we should have had maybe a very good plan. First of all, we sit down and then plan on how best we can invest that money in the railway infrastructure. So we can attribute that failure to poor planning and implementation.
How is now the country's economy faring, especially if we look at from 2022 to today in 2024? How has the economy been fared in these 3 years? Okay. Mr. Shim.
Okay, of course.
Despite actually having the problem of the debt,
yes,
which was hanging on our neck, but we saw some positives in the economic outlook. What could have led to that?
Firstly, it took time because it was a complex issue. The debt mountain was a complex issue which involved a number of entities. But thanks, there was debt restructuring which came to the fore. And what does debt restructuring bring to the table? One, there will be economic stability because government will now have headroom to stabilize the economy and also to implement effectively the fiscal and monetary policies, okay? And when there's debt restructuring, in fact, the debt restructuring itself means that government will now pay the debt at a lower rate over a period of 20 years. Because some of those, the Eurobonds that were issued in 2012, one of them was 7 years, the other one was 10 years, which in fact matured this year. Now, that was Zambia. Zambia was extricated from this kind of debt. So there will be room, there's headroom now to navigate and improve the economy, because one, there's been a boost in revenue mobilization, okay? Two, there's been an improvement in fiscal policy, in fiscal and monetary policy. They've tightened all the loops that were, loose ends that were there, and the economy is getting back on track. Okay.
But
Yeah.
is the economy is getting back on track? Is it in reality? People saying the economy, the living standard has gone high, but how are we relating with the common man on the street and everyone concerning the economic improvements, especially when we look at figures, they are very good, but people are still complaining.
Yes, so first of all, when we say the economy is getting back to track, we try to visualize that from the macroeconomic indicator point of view. We are looking at the issues to do with the unemployment rate. So what government is doing is they are trying to reduce the high levels of unemployment. You've seen the youth being absorbed into skills training. It's one of the policies that have been introduced. So those are some of the benefits that are coming on board. They are getting bursaries through CDF. They are sponsored. At least an ordinary Zambian should have a skill to see him survive and earn a living. So some are doing driving, others are doing different skills, others are doing technical courses, just to have a skill, so that we don't have a lot of people or youths or other Zambians without jobs. So the whole idea is to reduce the high level of unemployment. So that is what is actually on the ground. Then apart from that, what we see is that accessibility to agricultural inputs and farming inputs, so to say, has also been made easy, so that every ordinary Zambian can have access to the farming inputs, at least grow some crop so that he can have food on the table. So those are some of the benefits that are accruing. So we have seen some improvement in the agricultural sector. We've seen some improvement in the labor force and some of these other economic indicators.
Maybe what
just to add on, yes, you're talking about reality. Are people seeing this? There are three factors that we should look at, negative factors, so to speak. One, the fuel prices are reviewed monthly. Now, fuel prices are determined by two factors. One, the exchange rate, the prices of petroleum products on the international market. And I did mention initially that currently the crude oil is going at $78 per barrel. Now, Zambia cannot, control international fuel prices, and that is the reality we have to live with. And secondly, apart from fuel, which is biting fuel prices that are biting, the load management, ZESCO load management, over 90% of the source of power in Zambia is hydro. Okay, and there had been a drought, and because of the low water levels, ZESCO is unable to generate sufficient energy. And you are aware that energy is a vital component, is a vital factor in production. Hence, one, the production hours have been reduced. Two, the cost of production has gone up. So these issues are bringing some distortions to the economy, and people are feeling the impact. Then secondly, there's the Russia-Ukraine conflict. You are aware that Russia is a major producer of natural oil. Russia is a major producer of natural gas, and oil. Then Ukraine is a major producer of grain and fertilizers. And because of this conflict, because of the invasion into Ukraine, there's been a disruption in supply. There's been disruption in production. And secondly, there are sanctions against Russia, meaning those European countries and other countries are unable to procure cheap oil and cheap natural gas from Russia. As a result, the global economy has been impacted negatively to the extent that there's been a spillover to Zambia. Those are factors that we can't control. And hence, while there are certain measures that are being taken to stabilize the country, there are these three factors that are hammering the country, not only Zambia, but elsewhere.
Let's look at also the recovery, especially in 2021. We saw a distressed Zambian economy. And we have seen a bit of recovery from 2022 to 2024. What could have contributed to this economic recovery of the country, Mr. Chima?
One of them is international support and confidence in the economy and the government, which was ushered in. We saw significant support from the IMF, significant support from the World Bank and other global entities. Then secondly, the government had embarked on economic reforms, ensuring that the revenue collection was boosted, macroeconomic indicators were improved, fiscal and monetary policy were managed in a more organized fashion. Then the confidence also spilled over to the mining industry. We saw First Quantum Investment release 3 billion of investment in Northwestern Province. They came back on stream. And we saw other major global entities making inquiries on the possibility of investing in the mining and other critical sectors of the economy. So that confidence and the improvement of the economic outlay by the new government brought in some hope, although there are certain negative aspersions that are of international, external nature. But on the whole, what we need also to do is just to look at the energy mix. If Zambia can come up with a proper energy mix, hydro, solar, and other energy sources, we will not have these disruptions, we will not have economic distortions, because energy is a vital component in the economic development. Without energy, no economy can improve, no economy can thrive.
What, Mr. Maya, what on the economic recovery, what contributed? Any other measures which could have contributed to the economic recovery of the country?
Okay, so what could have caused that is maybe investor confidence. We changed from the past regime to the present regime. So with the new macroeconomic policies, the stabilization policies that were put in place to ensure that the economy is back to track, that sent a signal to the investors. And that's how the investment was also going up. Apart from that, what we can also say is that we can also view it from the point of view of the financial sector. The financial market also performed extremely well, which also made it possible for an ordinary Zambian to have access to funds, and this has a trickle-down effect on the living standards of the people.
You talked of the investor confidence. Why is investor confidence so important for an economy or for a country's economy?
Okay, good. Investor confidence is important because it brings in new investors. Once the investors have confidence in your economy, they will come and invest in your economy. And then, this is going to yield better results. What we'll see is that employment creation will go up, and hence the levels of unemployment will be reduced because of the investors who will be coming. So investor confidence is very, very critical in the growth of an economy.
There was also an improvement in the economy or
Yes.
economic outlook. One, because government increased spending in the social sector, in the health and education sector, and there was also a boost in CDF. Now, we will also remember that there was also massive employment in the health and education sector. So this factor, this aspect also improved the economic outlook and confidence in the economy.
All right, and well, viewers, you are watching The Lens, a program coming right here from the Zambia'S Provincial Studios, and on my panel I have Mr. Joseph Mleya and also Mr. Chimba to discuss the country's economic outlook. And also, on the same topic, what should government do to attain the stability and growth of the economy? Mr. Mleya.
Okay, in the first place, you realize that agriculture is the key driver of the economy. Zambia, being an economy that depends on agriculture, we need to go back to the drawing table and focus on agricultural policies that will be centered on improving the agricultural productivity of the people, of the ordinary Zambians. Take, for example, the cost of a bag of fertilizer is so high. Why can't we find a cheaper source of fertilizer so that we improve production of maize? When production of maize is improved, we are going to also have an increase in the export earnings. And that consequently also have an impact on the balance of payment position. So basically, we can also focus on agriculture because our economy is very much dependent on the agricultural sector.
Yes, in fact, agriculture is the highest employing sector in Zambia. That is one. Then secondly, agriculture will guarantee food security. And it's important also that the country embarks on what is called crop diversification. Instead of being reliant so much on maize, we look at other crops. If you go to Sengahill and Dimbala area, you find that people there produce massively. You find a lot of beans there. You find a lot of sweet potatoes there. If you go to Chembe area in Wapula province, they produce rice and cassava. In Mongu, they produce rice. So crop diversification can also assist. Now, when you embark on crop diversification, it's equally important to ensure that there's collaboration among producers. Producers are able to network so that government can facilitate a market, because it's one thing to produce, it's another to market the produce. Look at the nearby Congo Lubumbashi. We've got a market which is yawning. We can capitalize on that and produce massively and export in the Congo. Secondly, to improve the economy, government should expedite the process of improving road infrastructure.
Maybe just before you go to the road infrastructure on the agriculture, yes. We have been depending on agriculture since independence. When we gained independence, and have been depending on agriculture. But when we look at the agriculture's contribution to the country's economy, it's very insignificant in relation to other economic factors like the mining and others. So what should government, where are we missing as a country if we have so much potential, employing so much people, but what we are getting in return in terms of contribution to the growth of the economy is not so much? What should be done?
Yes. Firstly, to incentivize the small-scale farmers. These are the bulk producers of agricultural produce. They lack market, one of them. Two, the cooperatives that we see are not real cooperatives, and we see people that have invaded these cooperatives. So we should clean up the cooperative community. We should clean up the cooperative system and ensure that only genuine farmers are there, and we provide them with a steady market. As I said, it's one thing to produce, it's another to sell. So the small-scale farmers, who are the bulk producers, do not have a reliable market where they can take, they don't have the means to take the produce to reliable markets like Lubumbashi and within Zambia. That is one thing.
Maybe we are, at least we have already talked about the debt restructuring which was done, which also affected the country's economy, and but since this debt restructuring has now been resolved, as we talked about, going forward, are we seeing any better economic performance given that the debt has been restructured and we have the country has a breathing space? Mr. Mule.
The answer is yes. Why? Because we entered into the new terms of debt repayment. So the high cost of debt payment that we experienced in the past has been replaced by the new terms, which in turn will see funds that should have gone to service the debt being rechanneled back to other sectors of the economy. So what we see now is, what we expect is that we expect growth in other sectors. Why? Because we now have a relief. Instead of paying so high, instead of focusing so much on debt servicing, but the funds are now channeled to other sectors of the economy. So we expect to see positive growth in these other sectors of the economy.
Yes, secondly, the government has entered into an agreement with the Chinese to completely rehabilitate and overhaul the Tazara rail line. And this will give a reliable route to the port of Dar es Salaam. That is one. And apart from rehabilitating it, that will mean that there will be more employment opportunities during the construction and rehabilitation phase, and also when Tazara starts operating at 100%. Then secondly, we have the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway, which is just coming up. And during the construction phase, there are job opportunities, and once this link is done, transportation and the time of transportation and communication will be reduced. And you know, the cost of production will come down because now the travel time will be reduced because it will be safe and it will be faster. There are so many other projects that will contribute to a positive economic outlook, like the Ndola Mufulira Mokambo project, yes, wherein there will be a modern border post as you exit Ndola towards Mufulira. What is that place? Sakanya. There will be a modern border post, and that will decongest Kasumbalesa. Okay, so a reduced time in terms of transportation, in terms of communication, is a boost to the economy, and better infrastructure and better economic outlook.
Maybe on the mining, we left up another Ransha.
Yes,
Ransha 28,
yes,
which remained dormant for the past 20 years, and now they are dewatering it, and a lot of employment like to be created there. Are
yes,
we going to see also contributing positive to the economic outlook, Mr. Mule?
Yes, that will automatically contribute to positive economic outlook. There will be employment creation, and once employment is created, consumption will also increase, and when consumption increases, we see also a positive in the amount of gross domestic product, because GDP depends on the investment, consumption, and including government expenditure. So these put together, they will result into a positive increase in the amount of GDP. So we are headed for positive results.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe as we conclude our program, Mr. Chimba, maybe your last words concerning the country's economic outlook, going forward and now.
Yes, going forward, the Zambian government should expedite the process of rehabilitating tourism areas and roads that lead to such areas. Tourism has been dormant for many years. Apart from rehabilitating the infrastructure, government should also through the Zambia Tourism Agency, should embark on an aggressive marketing strategy to ensure that we have sufficient tourism inflows in the country. Then secondly, government should also incentivize the manufacturing industry, because in manufacturing industry, agriculture feeds into the manufacturing industry. And once manufacturing industry is boosted, it therefore means that value addition, which government has been talking about, to be a reality, because it's through manufacturing that value addition can be realized.
Mr. Mayor, your last words as well?
My last words will be on fuel. The high cost of fuel has brought us where we are today. Okay. So, what we should focus on as an economy is a cheaper source of fuel. Because transport is a driver of any economy. For workers to move from where they are to go to the production site, they need transport. And right now, we are feeling the pinch because the cost of fuel is so high. This has a trickle-down effect on all other economic variables, because production is going to be affected, agriculture is going to be affected, tourism is going to be affected, including education and health. We all depend on fuel. So why can't we think of a model that is going to help us access fuel at a cheaper cost that is going to see the positive results in the economy? So that is one of the things that we can think of in as far as the economic positive gains are concerned.
Okay.
Yes.
No, thank you so much, my panel, for making an appearance on the lens. And today we are discussing about the country's economic outlook. And I had a panel here to discuss this topic of the country's economic outlook, and I hope viewers, you have gotten one or two things concerning how our economy is performing and the future prospects of our national economy. And on the panel, I had Mr. Chimba, who is also a lecturer at the Zambia National Institute of Public Administration, that's NIPA. He's a lecturer under the business studies. And also I had Mr. Joseph Mleya, who is also a lecturer at the Zambia National Institute of Public Administration, that's NIPA here in Indora, to discuss this topic. And please, thank you so much for making an appearance on the program.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you so much. And I've been your host, Tovin Ngombe, and behind the cameras, I had my director, Mr. Himwera Moya, and the camera person, Doka Skunda. So thank you so much, and see you on the next program. Bye-bye. The Lens, a program designed to bring insightful information on economics, mining, education, health, tourism, agriculture, environmental issues, sports, entertainment, current affairs, and many issues affecting the well-being of society.